Audio. Wait for it to connect. Looks like it's connected to audio. Here we go. Wait a second, because it'll have much more pop up. Must be. There they go. And they trickle in. Spotlight me. Yay, me. I like it. Oh. Let's see. Well, I'm getting ready. Tell me what's going on in the world. Anywhere. The world is a big place, but also a really small place. One of the things, yeah, that's actually one of the things I really like about life. Those contradictions kinds of things.
Rapidly, or allowing me to borrow them for human events.
Cool. All right, so this is evidence. I need to download some stuff in here. If you noticed, I got on Blackboard a little bit. Did you guys notice that? I actually did some stuff. Oh my goodness. That means you guys have to do stuff now. I don't know if you like that or not. I see some smiles, but also I see some that aren't less smiley. I'm not going to point to anybody. I'm looking right at you. I like how you're so ignorant. You're not talking to me. Actually, that's me too. I feel that same way. Evidence. So, building cases. Essentially, what we start getting into with this one. You may or may not notice. After I put it up, I realized I left one other thing off of it. So I need to put this. I need to make one more change because I left off the assignments because we have 4 assignments in here. And so I've got the quizzes in there, but I left off the assignments again. So I got to put that in there. So I got to make another change. But now we have timelines, and you'll see that we're off in terms of the topics and dates. But here in a second, you're going to see that we're actually quite a bit further along than things. Once you start getting into this, you'll see just in each of the lines. While we're talking about that, you'll notice that the deadlines here are a little bit later for some of these first ones. Actually, that one I need to change too. That one I forgot to change because that should be the down. And for those of you who can't see it, because I don't think I'm sharing this, you can see it on the big screen, but let's make it easier for you all to see. So the new syllabus, I updated it, but I left off assignments again, but still messed up. And I messed up a date. The error is human. When we start getting into it, you'll see we're basically down here into direct and circumstantial evidence, but we'll have to go a little bit into chapter 3 a little bit to get there because there's probably some principles in there we need to talk about. That's where I'm going to write down. Quiz 1 and quiz 2 should be available now in Blackboard if you go and you look over on the left-hand side under quizzes. Quiz 1, quiz 2. So one's 1 week from today, one's 1 week from Wednesday. All the chapters are out there. I still need to upload videos in here, apparently. Yeah, and so I'll do that. It'll probably take me, I would say, let's say 5 to 6 hours. So I don't know exactly how long it will take for this video we're making right now to become available. And then take it, download it, re-upload it for that to become available for me to be able to share it to you all. Steps, I love them. All right, so in here we have downloaded Gardner chapter 2. So yes, when you get number 3 and number 4. Boop. Grab that one. There we go. And grab that one. And there we go. Boop. All right. So important aspects. Most of the stuff we've already talked about, I think. Yeah. How far did we get in here last time? Because I thought it's usually giving me a pop-up if I have those things open. Have I used this in here before? I'm trying to remember if I used PowerPoints in here before. Okay, good. Some classes I don't. Some classes.
It's like we did relevant, reliable.
Okay, good. All right. Is that in this one or is that the previous chapter? Okay, good. Common law. Excellent. Okay. So the adversary system, we're talking some more on that. So we'll go through this real quick, see if there's any elements we've not hit already. But really what we want to be is in the next one. So we start talking about direct and circumstantial evidence and what it means to make inferences, because there's something that people in this system, if you want to become a lawyer, that's what you want people to do. You want them to make inferences. You want to control the directions that they make them and how they build them. So that's part of the side of this in terms of the how-to. But we'll get in that in just a second. Let me run through this real quick. So we talked about, why is this Let's make it smaller. No, still wants to do something weird. Okay. Federalism, we know that. We talked about that. Federal rules of evidence. Okay. 1975. Basically, most things abide by that. See, states most identical. State codes, you know what those are. Federalism laws of evidence. Each state retains the power to interpret and modify rules, just like state constitutions, state statutes, all that stuff. That lies with the states to a large degree. They like that power to get as close to the people as possible. It's the whole point of decentralization. That's why we have systems that are not centralized. Some of your books will talk about the positives and negatives of that kind of thing across systems. It is very important that they try to be as aligned as best possible, but you also want that variation in there because that variation is what allows people options, and that's how the system is able to self-balance. You're able to tailor the laws in your areas, the rules to what that area needs. So, yeah, federal rules can apply in both civil and criminal, but there you go. There's some variation there. Federal state courts, yeah. 10th Amendment. Power is not delegated in the United States. That is the states of the people. So that's state sovereignty and also identifying its people. It's their rights. Talked about that already. We need to go back too heavily into that. Okay, this is Bond versus the U.S. Been argued her actions were totally local in nature and thus reserved to the states. Okay. That's going to be one of those federal lines. I mentioned it's like, yeah, whether or not you cross into federal territory does not necessarily mean you cross federal lines. Most people imagine it's that. I committed a kidnapping across state lines. Now it's a federal felony. Okay. Yeah, but no, you just have to have an effect. That kind of thing. So if it's going to have cross that line and merge into something that has federal territory attached to it, whether that's in terms of geography or not, you be in that system too. State and federal jurisdictions over crimes. Yeah, most are state level. Why? Closer to the people. More people involved in those systems. If you look at any class that you'll take, if they get in like the organization stuff, they were doing some policing earlier. What you'll see is the most expensive thing there, people. Thing that takes up the most space, people. Source of all your problems, people. Source of all your solutions, people. Right? So it's that you're dealing with here. The closer you get to them, the better you are, and the more it will work. Some crimes are federal, and yeah, that's just a circular statement. Small percentage of criminal offenses are both federal code. Yeah, no, there's considerable overlap. Okay, we talked about common law already, right? This is it as a definition. Basically, what it is it has to do something with society and ways that they handle things that are basically unwritten legal rules. Yeah, I start thinking cultural mores, values, folkways, that kind of stuff, right? How much of punishment do we want to give to this person, right? What would they do? Stole my horse. What would you do to someone? Someone stole your horse. What do you do? Okay, modern day equivalent. What would the modern day equivalent be? Steal two. Cool. Car, maybe? Okay, yeah. Some type of equipment. I'm talking the 1800s. What's that going to be? Yeah, you're killing somebody, right? Why is that? To some degree, it's this. To some degree, it's bound in the context of the time. How important is that horse to you? You're living out in the country. You're going to have to travel a whole lot of miles to find people. That's your only lifeline. That's why, right? It's not just that it's rough times. It's just everything is rough. That includes people. Right? To some degree, we're going to be based off of this, and to some degree, we're going to be trying to do things better. Okay, federal crimes have to be statutory crimes being enacted by Congress. So that's where they start talking about some of the administrative powers associated with government. That's a really dangerous thing right there to talk about. Basically, what you start looking at is you have the laws, you have the codes, you have procedures, you have evidentiary laws, that kind of stuff, rules. Those are all things that have, go into different areas if you really start to think about it, right? When we're talking about just in the trial itself, who's, the judge, what does he actually do? He's just kind of referee to some degree, right? Really, there's a lot more attached to it, but So see, it's like some of this stuff be statutory in nature, some of it's not. Talk about the administrative side, those are gonna be your federal agencies that have some type of powers attached to it. Those are positions not in really directly any way associated with the voting populace, but a lot of governmental powers have been sent up there. Be like talking about the EPA, right? Do a lot of good work. Some big problems. Like a good example would be Swiss California. I forget what it was. They had some type of water system. I can't remember. It was some type of fish that was fairly not endangered, I don't think, but getting close. They're having this trouble with waters in California, wildfires, and farming. A whole lot of competing interests for water. You got people, you got the food, you got wildlife, and you have people who weigh all those things differently. Right? Start getting into that a little bit there. How are we going to handle that? Well, depends on who's got the power and how they want to. And if there's no passion for that, thing, you get a whole lot of danger. Because there are people who's, can lose their livelihoods based off of what government organization wants to do. Okay. Domestic tranquility, that's states. Criminal code, rules of evidence enacted by states, found codified in each. Yeah, of course. Okay. Criminal laws may be acted by federal government in the following areas. Okay. Protection itself, the government itself as an entity, officials, employees, property, administration of its functions, interstate foreign commerce, civil rights, and criminal laws places beyond jurisdiction of the state. I realize that the federal government originally started because, well, war, but continued because states need to get along too. Think back to interstate commerce, that kind of stuff at the time that this country was being founded. It's not positive, right? There are some states that hate each other, that kind of thing. So actually I had a fleeting thought about that. I mentioned something about that last time. I know what it was. Articles of Confederation. It's like, that's how that started. It was one of the things associated with that was how to regulate interstate commerce, replaced by the Constitution though. Okay, Congress may pass criminal laws under Commerce Clause only. Prohibited activity channels interstate commerce, uses instruments of interstate commerce, or has a substantial effect on interstate commerce. I was trying to get out before. That's what they're saying there. Channels. Basically, you cross those state lines. You get that. There you go. That's what most people think of. Instrumentalities. We'll come back to that one. This is the one I was talking about. Substantial effect on interstate commerce. That one's very flighty, right? Like I said, this is a state where you have medical marijuana, right? Arkansas has it. Colorado's on one side of us. Texas, do they have it? Okay, Texas doesn't. Whoops. There you go. Missouri and Kansas. I was trying to think. What are the other states that touch us? Do both of them? I think Missouri does now. I'd have to go back and look at it because that one would be relatively newer within the last couple of years that's happened. I'd have to think about the other one. I have no clue. Okay. Legal drug market in the state. It's illegal everywhere else. Is it bleeding over? How much? Instrumentalities, the phone lines are a good example, right? Internet's a really good example. I'll use it even a little bit further. We'll say we'll take it outside of the realm of the federal government because it's interstate. We'll put it directly into the federal government in terms of there's no privacy at all. You have an internet access point. You have a VPN. You set that location to Canada, to anywhere else. Guess what? You're outside of the entire country. Foreign intelligence. You can look in. Depending on your security, and if they want to, right? And anyone can. That's the kind of stuff you're doing. All right. Gonzalez versus Risch. Users and growers of medical marijuana brought in action declared the Federal Controlled Substances Act unconstitutional. Were held. Commerce Clause permits Congress to regulate local marijuana activity substantially affects interstate commerce. I read that somewhere. Yeah, we had so in this state, right after I moved here, they had an issue with this. I want to say it was this because they had a bunch of black market growers, right? You hear about black market growers all the time. That's what they do. I came here because I can slip in undetected, trying to hide when I'm actually, it's crime. Yeah. Under the cover, out of sight. Okay, SORNA we talked a little about last time, I think. Yes. That's federal registration. Yeah. Those things are always interesting if you really want to get discussions about it. It's like, is that an after the fact punishment? So maybe, but also the danger there. The danger there's too much. So start crossing state lines though. That's where you get right back into their federal territory again. Okay, military stuff. I think we went over that too. Law enforcement, federal agencies don't care about size. Working general state government. Okay, probably should talk a little bit about that. If we get into the law enforcement side of things, it's always interesting because that's going to be a bit relational, I guess is the right word. It's going to be based on the relationship between those agencies directly involved in any particular action. Basically, we start getting into is are things like task force and stuff like that, where anytime you have a specific purpose, usually it's the, I don't want to say higher levels, but yeah, federal kind of stuff. We'll be the ones kind of organizing that, but they'll be drawing in locals. And so they're the feet on the ground. Officers work with federal agencies created by Congress to enforce specific laws assigned to their agencies. Yes. Okay. Estimates of reported crime in the United States. That's an interesting little block right there because that gives you an idea for how things work at best, right? It has here crimes directly discovered by law enforcement officers, less than, well, a little bit over 5% at 6%. Those are the ones where, hey, officers out on the street, hey, that guy's getting mugged. I'm going to go smack him in the face real hard. Make sure that person, eats some concrete. And the guy who was getting his wallet stolen, he gets his wallet back and he's going to feel real good seeing that guy get his face ground into the ground a little bit, right? Or like whenever you see someone who's been speeding and cut you off, get pulled over. Yeah, that feels really good. Crimes reported by victims, much bigger. Crimes reported by witnesses. There's your bystander effect. Most people are saying it doesn't directly include them or it's not egregious enough. Right? What was that? Little over a third. More than half. Unreported. Best estimate. Varies by things. And we get those estimates. How do we get those estimates, by the way? Okay. Guess that methods yet? Those are going to be your victimization surveys. Keep that in mind because you're asking the question as to how many times people or who's been victimized rather than who's reported policing or who's reported the crime to the police. Get a much different image. What you get there are two bookends for what that issue really is. On the low side, the stuff that's discovered. We've broken up like this. On the other side, it's the victimization stuff. It's broken up. You can break up the same kind of way, but a little bit different. Wouldn't be how it was found, it'd be what it was kind of thing. I almost want to have another talk about that, but I'm not going to have a talk about that. Okay, courts in the system. There's different types of courts. I'm going to skip that one because it's so introductory. Okay, the adversary system. Here's what they talk about that. We've already talked about that, so I'm going to skip over that one. Do I want to do that? Have that conversation with you? There's one about inversions. I think it's probably best for the inferences. We start making inferences. That right there. Defense attorneys, we talked about last time. Zealously within the bounds of the law. But your duty is to those that you are defending. Adversary system. You already know that there's an order to that, right? You learned that in probably criminal law. Prosecution goes first, to that cross-examination, all that kind of stuff. Yes, good. Okay. We'll talk about relevant, reliable, and competent. Not wasting time, using best evidence. That's the best evidence rule. Never talked about those. Going to move a little bit faster through some of these. Reliable evidence. Yeah. Competent evidence. We talked about that. Notice of alibis. We talked about that. Good. Civil commitment. I don't know much about that there. That's one that depending on where you're at, those things look very, very, very different. But basically, we're talking about resources there. That's enough for that one. Now we get to go to the one I actually want to talk about. Okay. Guilt or innocence. That kind of thing. So, rules of evidence decide what's going to be there. You know that. Situations, some places where rules do not apply. Here's a good example. Procedures. Have you ever been in procedures before? You. Let's see if you remember this one. Confessions, right? You have the fact that this person said that they did it, but you did not warn them beforehand, so you can't use it in court. Is there a way to get it in?
Was it like if they blurted it out, like a reaction?
Anything like that. Anything where you can get them to talk. You get their direct statements where they're making up anything that conflicts with that previous statement, because then it's not that you're entering in a confession, it's perjury. Oh, we didn't tell you this before. He's actually said he's done it before. Oh. One of the reasons why they don't can't make a determination on that, because it could be something that, hey, that unwarranted confession wasn't just an unwarranted confession. They had the guy tied down at the same time. That kind of thing. Can't separate those two out. Unwarranted versus being beaten. There's no separating out. You just know that it's wrong. That's not the process for it. Can't use it. Let's find another way to get it in. The process of review and evaluation of evidence. Weaker cases filtered out of the system. That's just the process of getting weaker stuff out. That's usually how prosecutors make their decisions. What's the likelihood I'm going to get success that needs to go into it, that it's going to be worth the time? And then sometimes I'll do it. How does it benefit me? That's the bad one. Don't do that one. Motions to suppress. So this will be in that earlier process where they're building cases and that. Motions to suppress, written or oral, before trial, or basically as it's being admitted kind of thing. Usually it's before trial. Yeah. Usually made when it's be unlawfully obtained, or it doesn't meet your rules of evidence kind of thing. Roll motion to suppress, the judge must review the evidence. The judge gets to look. No one else should. If you're doing it at the time of the trial, it's as soon as it's actually entered, as soon as the motion is made, enter it into the record. Objection. Right. So that way, that time, that time is critical, that kind of thing. You have to do it right there contemporaneously if it's going to happen live. Okay. Appeal, argue shoplifter had to leave the store or to be convicted. Oh, here's one. How these things work, the thresholds that we set for different things. There are very clear lines for it, and they don't always make sense. I can't remember if the very first class I started talking about birds, bees, and fish in California. I love to pick on California. Did I talk about that in here? No, maybe yes. I don't know. Okay. Basically what it is, if you look up California, I think it's bees. I have to look. I think bees are classified as fish in their legal system. Yes, because they have protections, the way the protections were written into their state code. You had to classify, I think it was bees, as fish. You do a Google search, it'll pop up actually. Now that I can't remember, because I always had trouble among the birds and bees and fish. And now, since we already have so much trouble in society, I can't keep it straight. Birds, bees, fish. California. Was it fish or bees? Yeah. Some types of bees are considered fish under state's Endangered Species Act. Bees are fish. Sometimes this stuff doesn't make any sense. Sometimes it does, though. It's like, I see what you're doing there. Probably not the best way to do it. It's functional. So some of this stuff's very, very weird. And so you have to know how it works. I pick on California, but they do make some good examples for stuff. Right? This one, it's theft. Part of it is the fact that you need to have some type of trespass retaking. And so, person never left. Never left the store. Do you have to leave the store? Maryland, they said, customer crosses the threshold in the realm of behavior inconsistent with the owner's expectation. Circumstances may be such that the intent can be inferred. Intent, we're trying to reach back in people's minds. I can't tell what's actually spinning in your mind. And mine is a small hamster and wheel. Literally what I think of whenever I start thinking. Guys, he's going real fast. Could be a she, I don't know. It's a little hamstring. Right? Is that really what I'm thinking? I don't know, lying. You have to tell that for every single fact, every single thing that comes through, right? Not so much that it's like, here's a good example. I'm gonna pick on something else because it's kind of something to get part of. Media, like mass media. Does it present a side to truth? Yes or no? So that weird dead knot. Media, whenever you're watching mass media, large media, think like national news. Does it present a side to truth? Which side?
Depends on the perception.
Why isn't all of them?
Because we all perceive things differently.
Shouldn't all of them be presented across all channels?
Yes, but to gain money, those.
There you go. There you go. What's the real thing here? It's not got anything to do with that at all. Money. That evil thing. Yeah. That thing. Intent is a very, very, very difficult. There's everything everyone will tell you. There's everything that they'll do. And then there's everything they're hiding. Right? One of my favorite things to think about is everything that you don't know. Right? That's a really big category of things. Trying to calculate what you can't measure. Yeah, that kind of stuff. It's like, how can you do that? You can, if you come at it the right way. This thing, what you do is you start stacking up the different behaviors, the different facts, the different reasons. Talk about means, motive, and opportunity. How many motive reasons you might want to kill somebody? You need, right? Start stacking up a while. Get enough of this, like, ooh, yeah, that's not an accidental death. Huh. Yeah, the piano fell on the guy. It kind of looked like that at first, but you can see that thing was nowhere near over there to begin with, right? That person moved that over. Oh, they had a reason to move it over there. What was that reason? You have to start building it and picking it apart and building it at the same time. Right, and start making inferences. See if they start talking about that next, because I won't talk about just inferences in general. Team review of evidence. This is process. Team review allows for more people, more brain power. Best practices, homicides, investigations. Police departments use practice of team review of evidence, higher clearance rate than the rest. Everybody's looking at it because it's really hard to figure it out. Methods raised, that kind of thing. I think I want to talk more about inferences first. Ooh. This one, our field is one that has a lot of, well, of course, has inferences, but contradictions, paradoxes, that kind of stuff. Be like, here's one. You protect and serve, right? How many weapons do you carry? Right? You're there to protect and serve, but you carry a weapon that's dangerous. It's like, it seems like a contradiction. Some people don't get it. There's a lot of contradictions here. I think of methods and what they're playing with is money because people like money, I guess. You know, the zero value, priceless and worthless. What is it? Right? Here. When you start looking, okay, what is available here physically? Why? It's tangible, it's real. You can see it. Even though people might tell you not to believe your lying eyes. Does that happen? People tell you not to believe your eyes? Yeah. Tell you that a lot. Now, you should probably believe your eyes. Right? At least a little bit. Question it. But seeing is that. Whatever is obtained in what manner? Be attacked or what was the evidence saying in a manner that can be attacked or suppressed? Basically, attack. What that is. That's the war part of it. I'm going to reduce your resources while increasing mine. That's war. What witnesses are available? How reliable and dependable? There's character elements a little bit. Also the vehicle. How can you attack the witnesses? How can you attack witnesses? Yeah, you go through cross-examination. Okay. I want to ask that question, yeah. You guys ever got someone in the lie before? How did it happen? Not specifically, and dial back and like, well, suspicions confirmed. Maybe, or maybe, dead body discovered, right? When you think about that, how did you get to that conclusion that someone had lied to you? I think in here when we're talking, I think we talked about it. Maybe it was a different class. Did we talk about the honest man and the liar and the 2 paths? Okay, that's in here. Good, 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 good. Because it's the same thing. You have to be able to make that distinction, but you can never tell who's lying about what, when, or where. You identify lies. You guys don't know. One's real easy. Consistency. How many times do you ask people questions in this system? How many times do you ask people the same question? Change a few words. Different response. I get a different response. Confusion? Or is it something else? It's an evil afoot. Right? You find enough of these inconsistencies, what do you get? I get a sneaking suspicion someone might be lying to me. Maybe. Ooh, I'll play a little bit of fun with you real quick. If you want to play with the negative stuff. You guys liking this part? So what do you all? All right. Lies, truth, behavior, person, liar, honest. When you do that, those lies start stacking up. They're all coming from a singular source or sources. And you can confirm that there's something untruthful about any one of those things, those networks. You start using that. We're not really good at that though. We start looking at social media stuff. That's where we're really bad at it, because that's why it's like I condemn you by the people you're associated with because you don't know what the distinctions are and things. That's a different story. This one right here, lies. Those things stack up. What's the threshold for determining someone's a liar? How many lies does it take you? 1. Can you disagree with that? From a legal standpoint, that's it. That's how you do it. If you lie on one thing, I now have a reason to question if you're honest on everything else. Ask you the same question 60 times. Hey, I got 3 different words here. That. Let's just pick at it. See what happens. Will it crack? Maybe they're lying. Maybe there's cracking. Who knows? I win though. Ooh, that's horrible. That thing right there. Good. Bad. What? Just sides of the scale, right? Both sides. Okay? What makes a good liar? Yeah. Yeah. Makes a bad, honest person. Yeah. You can't tell the difference. A really good liar, you can't tell any difference at all. So how do you tell if they're lying? I can get you twisted up enough. Maybe it's the fact that they are consistent across everything. And it's not so much that whether they're really at fault for this or not. Just look at this. Look at this person, who they are. Just look at them. You know that this is the case. Is it done? No way to tell. You have to have an entire system that we bring in how many people to figure out for any one person for one point in time in their life. We'll make snap judgments about that stuff all the time. Right? It's the system for how you do it. This is how difficult it is for a singular fact. Who's responsible for what? We have to weigh the good and the bad, the lies, the honest, persons, the truths, the facts, all of that stuff at the same time. The evidence is one way that it builds up because that's something that is to some degree relatively detached from this. It will stand on its own. Maybe not fully, but it does stand on its own. Let's see. Those are questions that are pretty straightforward. Goals, discouraged. I don't care about that. We talked about criminal complaint. We need to talk about that process, but we'll come back to that. I need to talk about this a little bit. Not guilty plea. Inferences. Jesus. Hey, see why I don't use these things. Whatever. I'm just going to talk about inferences more and then we'll jump into the process. So, first inference, if you find one lie, people will jump over here. Right? You can do that using other people's statements or evidence. Right? Direct versus indirect evidence. This one speaks directly to some facet of the case. This one you have to make an inference for. You have to make a jump like this. Hopefully not as super large as this one is. But that's one that might be the case, but might not be. All it does is you find that inconsistency and it reinforces the question that exists. Is this person a liar or not? As they stack up, you'll see the truth. But pay attention to it. All of you have to be that. On both sides of the scale. This isn't pick a side. You have to weigh both. They're bound together. Direct. I have a video of you at the scene. Places you at the scene. That's something real. It's something tangible. Something there. Indirect. We'll go to the mental element. What would be a good example? Oh, indirect. You guys read people's minds? You don't? Don't try to? No. You're trying to do here. Yeah, that's not an easy one. Motive. Okay. Person's got an life insurance plan. He'll make bank. It's a motive. That's one reason why someone might do it. As those stack up and the specific behaviors, how they connect together, all that's how you make those inferences, right? In this case, is this person capable of being someone who would shoot and kill someone? Ooh, I don't know. Our people inherently good or evil? I don't. I'm dealing with this one specific thing. That's much better. Okay. Is this one person capable of it? I don't know. What kinds of things were they doing? What kinds of things I had to support it? How does it all stack up? Right. Month. That. You start dealing with the specifics though. I don't know. So you said this person died in a vehicular accident, yes? Yes. Okay. Yeah, had their vehicle. This person had that vehicle. They borrowed it the day before. Yes? Yes. Okay. Looking at this condition right here, that brake line, what does that look like to you? It's like a rubber hose. It's got a nice clean brake. Oh, I don't know. I've never seen a brake line wear through like that. I've seen it wear through like this. A little cracking there. Now your brake fluid's gone. Now you got no brakes. Seen that happen. You hit something. Is it going to have a clean cut like that? Probably not. You also have other damage, you can tell. This is just one clean line. Just one solid brake. I started to think somebody did that. That's not probably something that's got probability. What's the likelihood that someone did this on purpose? We're getting back into it, aren't we? Now I am starting to read your mind. This methods class the other day a little bit. What you are looking for will determine what you see, right? And there's always more to see than what you're looking at. And so you have to do math, that kind of thing. Okay, let's do the process now, because that's kind of the important part of inferences. They add up, it's stacking things and it's fitting it together. Same kind of like logic structures you use in theory, or if you're testing it in methods, kind of thing. If this, then this. This thing went smooth like something mechanically came through and clipped it. Odds are that's not going to be something that happens naturally. Has to be someone did that. So yeah, I think we're in the territory of murder here. Right? Right? Just that easy. Right there. Just have to think about it. That process, what that's going to look like, of course, you're going to have all the stuff that's associated with policing. Guilty plea. I don't want to go into pleas. We need to go into process. The first one we'll probably go into is the arraignment, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. Preliminary hearings, initial appearances. There you go. So we'll start with complaint. Yeah, 4 minutes. We'll talk about that. Two processes involved here. Grand jury hearings at the federal level, or informations if you're at the state. Some states still use grand jury hearings. You've probably heard those terms before. We'll have talked about them maybe in criminal law if you heard it before. Grand jury hearing is one thing. The information is what you actually want. Information is the prosecutor themselves just file some paperwork with the court. Then you go make your appearance and you make your case. You get to actually say something. Grand jury hearings, you don't. Grand jury hearing, what happens is we're going to have a trial. We're going to hold a trial to see if just the prosecutor talks and gives their case, if they can get a jury to believe you committed the crime, then you're indicted. You've heard that phrase before. All that means is it's more than likely you could have committed a crime. People will use that to condemn you. They do it all over the place. Doesn't matter who you are. Anything. Just that's what people do. Yeah. Realize that at that point in time, you still haven't had any right to really speak at all. You don't get to make an argument. You don't get to poke any holes in that claim. You move further into this process. The complaint one's better because you get to say stuff. Okay. Filed with court before, after, under arrest, that kind of thing. Yeah. Arrests are often involved. Your initial appearance. Charges read, plea entered, bail set. Very important stuff. Big timelines with that one. 48 hours is what you start looking at there for initial appearance. If you don't do that, presumptively, use that word presumptive, it's unreasonable. And that's another term. Unreasonableness, we've already talked about what it is to be reasonable. Yes? The average person holds it that way on mass kind of thing. Presumptions, innocence is one. Some of them are rebuttable. Innocence is one, right? This person might be guilty. I lost my thought with people talking. Or please enter. I literally lost my thought. That's so funny. I guess it might be quitting time. What do you think about that? Does this help them kind of see how this works? A little bit, you see how the evidence starts to stack up and the kinds of things you're looking at what level, right? It's all going to be very, very, very small level to some degree, very, very fine details. They build very, very directly in some ways, and indirectly. So you got to stack it in every way and be measuring both sides of the scale. With that, we'll pick up with the rest of this lesson next class and see where things go from there. I'll be working on the assignments for anything here. I get creative. I need to look back and see what I used last time I taught this class. Probably update that or do something different. I like new things. Change and learning are good things. With that, you guys have a great day, and I will catch you all on Wednesday. Good one. Yeah. Adios. Vaya con Dios. No, maybe. I don't speak Spanish.